All right, folks, it's Monday, April 14th, 2025. And yes, since President Trump has been elected, XRP is officially the top gainer, with the OM Mantra token getting completely wiped out over this weekend. And this is one of the top RWA plays for this bull run, or so they said, right? Famous last words. And so we're going to actually take my market cap multiplier and apply that analysis to what happened here with OM, as some folks are talking about 6 billion was extracted from this ecosystem. And I'm going to show you the hard data. It wasn't even close to 6 billion, reiterating the point, as I've been saying, that market cap is a figment of your imagination. And just like that, poof, it can be gone. So we're going to bring an update to you guys here today. It's going to be a quick one. I hope you guys had a blessed weekend. A lot going to be taking place this week, so make sure you're tapped in with us. If you support what we're doing, make sure you're liking our videos, sharing them out far and wide, and all of our community resources are available at zachrector.com. Let's roll. And as I've been analyzing these markets, I've come to find you got to spend significant work decoding the economic data that they spoon feed us, right? That they want us to pay attention to. And for me, what I've come to find is that it's just real stories and real data points like this that I find really reflect where our economy is at. And I'm talking about this one right here. 60% of general admission ticket buyers at Coachella used buy now, pay later to finance their tickets per billboard. And I was talking about this with the Discord group about how do we ride this thing out while we wait for the reset, restructure, revaluation. In the meantime, what do we do? And I said, just make sure you're not in bad debt or any debt that can, really choke you out or suffocate you before we get to the other side. Now, whether you believe that taking on debt to go to Coachella is good or bad, just the pure fact that over half of the general admission attendees took on debt to attend it, I think gives us a state of just how weak our economy is. Now, something that's been interesting is in comparison to gold, silver has been weaker, right? This gold to silver ratio is completely out of whack. I think some of these kids would be better off, instead of going to Coachella, learning about the gold to silver ratio and picking up some of that precious metals for themselves, which we could help them with that. That's linked up down below as well, okay? Fascinating chart for anyone looking at the gold to silver ratio in a historical context. Over the past 125 years, the ratio has only spent brief moments above the 100 level. Extremes like this tend not to persist for long. If history is any guide, this doesn't look like the time to be overly bearish on silver, in my view. So we do not see this happen for long periods of time where the gold to silver ratio is 100 to 1. And this is why I've been stacking my silver. I know many of you guys got silver and gold. Like I said, we're trying to help these kids get caught up to speed, but they're distracted at Coachella. We're trying to teach them about the metals and some cryptocurrency. You gotta do what we can over here. Now, speaking of cryptocurrency, massive. Some calling it a rug pull, which I don't think it's a complete rug pull. The project will probably still go on. Some folks will hang on to it. But the OM is the ticker, OM, and the project is called Mantra. This is being touted as one of the top real-world asset plays for this bull run. Now, I've been saying, you guys have been asking me about RWAs, and I've been saying that basically every chain is an RWA chain. If you can issue tokens on the chain, it's an RWA chain. I mean, maybe Bitcoin's not, because you can't really issue much on Bitcoin, but every other chain that can issue tokens essentially can be a RWA play. And so I've said, when we look at this RWA space, everybody and their brother's touting that their chain's an RWA chain, to the point now where I find it almost insulting to tell me that your chain's an RWA chain. If it's not an RWA chain, what are you doing at this point? They all should be RWA chains. And we're seeing this with the XRP ledger in an explosion of ROUSD kind of leading the way, the number one RWA on the XRP ledger. But obviously we have thousands of other tokens that represent meme coins. And then we will have many more. We have a few that represent RWAs, but many more on the way. So the XRP ledger is going to be, and already is, one of the top RWA chains in my opinion. But just like we've seen with these other cycles where it was Metaverse where now the AI hype, right? Everybody and their brother had a metaverse. Everybody and their brother had an NFT project. Everybody was going to leverage AI. We don't know how yet. And we're starting to see this play out. And I'm not saying that AI is not real and a great opportunity. It is. It's massive and it's going to take over. But when everybody and their brother is regurgitating the same talking points to sell you their tokens and their ecosystem, red flags start waving in front of me, right? Now, this ticker right here, OM Mantra, I hadn't really taken a good look at it. I saw when I was researching just over yesterday, it was shilled by some of the biggest YouTubers and biggest influencers in the game as being one of the top RWA chains. Well, this is a disaster on the level of Luna, according to some. I mean, we're going to watch this play out here, but I want to hone in on this point right here. He says over 6 billion extracted from crypto in just 30 minutes. And he's showing you the OM chart, and the market cap loss was about 6 billion. Now, for those of you guys that have been tapped in with me, and we've been talking about these order books, these inflows, outflows, and the market cap multiplier, and you've been listening to me describe market cap as a data point that we can take a look at. But what does it give us? Does it give us the full story about a project? Does it give us the full story of how quickly it could go down? It doesn't. And this is why I say market cap is a figment of your imagination, because it's kind of a vanity metric, right? What does it mean other than surface level? It gives you an idea of how much value is in an asset. But if you thought that 6 billion was in OM, you were wrong. And if you are thinking that 6 billion got extracted from OM, you are also wrong by a lot. And so this is where we take a look at CoinGlass, and we're going to see the flows. But real quick, here's the market cap chart on OM. You can see what happened here. This is the 4-hour chart. So we're in one 4-hour candle, we lost 5.6 billion down here, right? So one 4-hour candle, 5.6 billion lost. Now, I'm going to slide over here and I'm going to show you on the CoinGlass where this flow was, right here. Okay, this is the same 4-hour candle. I'm on the 4-hour chart here on the spot inflows and outflows. And instead of just hitting the net flow button, which gives us the combined inflows and outflows, right? And for this candle, the net flow's actually positive by 35 million during this. And so you'd ask yourself, well, how's this possible, right? There was more money coming in during this 4-hour candle than went out. Well, what's happening is people are trying to hit the exits at a rapid pace. And so when I slide over to this candle and we look at the inflows and the outflows, you see that the inflow was 133 million, but the outflow was only 97 million. Which does give you that positive inflow, right? That positive net flow of some 30 million, right? You slide on over to the candle before that, there was 3 million of inflows, 5 million of outflows right before that, and the price was at $6. Slide on over one candle, you actually have a positive net flow, but the price collapses down to 4 cents, right? Or 49 cents, sorry, about 50 cents. So it went from $6 to 50 cents, 90% wiped out. But all it took was 97 million of outflows, which were actually outpaced by the inflows, which gives us a net positive inflow during that 4-hour candle. People were buying the dip. In fact, I want to give a shout out to Carlos in our Discord group. He was sharing how he bought the low on this one, and he was able to double up or something like that. He made a quick bag flipping this one. And so people were buying the dip, and people put more money in during this 4-hour candle than they took out. But because the sellers wanted out at such a rapid pace, that's what was driving that price down so low. And what this is the spot market, remember, which doesn't account for futures. It doesn't account for DEX activity, decentralized exchange activity. And it also wouldn't account for OTC transactions. So if you have big whales that were selling OTC, then that also wouldn't be calculated in this. So during that 4-hour window, was there actually more selling than there was buying? Probably. But on the spot flows, we have a positive net inflow, basically. But the market cap multiplier during this time, take a look here at the chart. I just go to Google and I type in, right, 5.6 billion divided by 97 million. So I disregard the inflows and I just took the outflows. 5.6 billion divided by 97 million is 57. So that's a 57x multiplier during that 4-hour window. But once again, there's some fallacies in this math. It's not perfect math, but what it demonstrates to us here, again, is that it is not a 1-to-1 ratio and that there was not 6 billion in cash taken out from this project. Reiterating the point that market cap is a figment of your imagination. When the sell orders hit, they came in hot and heavy. They drove this project down 90%. And the amount that was actually taken out during that 4-hour window wasn't even $100 million on the spot markets. So it's nowhere near that 5 to 6 billion. This reiterates the point how illiquid these assets are, which makes them pump, and it also makes them dump. And this is very important to understand. Now, I saw that somebody within my, somebody had commented on Twitter, and they shared this post from Grok, and this guy said, Clem Fandango, he was responding to my market cap multiplier video from yesterday. And he says, I've always thought that your market cap multiplier is possible, explained by the 1000th rule of thumb. And this is for trading currencies. When trading equities, it's this guy says he was a fund manager for 20 plus years and always, as max traded, greater than 2% of trading volume. If bigger, it worked over several days. That was kind of convoluted, but let me simply break this down. He gives an example using Grok. You have a currency here with 1 million units. According to this rule of thumb, if the daily traded volume is 1,000 units or less, 1/1000th of the total supply, then trades are unlikely to disrupt the price significantly. This is because the market has enough depth to handle those transactions without forcing a revaluation of the currency. Counter to what we saw on the OM dump yesterday, you have a massive amount of the overall supply was being traded and mostly being sold. And so that's what drove down this price, and the market was not able to eat up. There was no depth on that order book on the buy side enough to stop that market from plummeting, right? And so once again, this shows us that this market cap metric we need to focus on what it can be applied and used for and what it does not represent. And what it does not represent is liquidity. Right? And so I like to give you guys these examples of when the numbers are going down and when the numbers are going up. Very important. And I find it interesting that you got a hedge fund, a fund manager for over 20 years, and they observe the same types of metrics when trading currencies, and this would apply to stocks as well too, which is typically why we don't see such dramatic moves in currencies and stocks and the bond market, is because they are so much more liquid compared to the cryptocurrency space, where just a little bit of activity can move these projects in a massive, massive way. Now, I saw somebody post this, and it's not funny, by the way, the people that lost money on this project. This is crypto, and it's the Wild West out here. But I did find this one funny. You can always count on Twitter to make you laugh. This guy says, founder advice, when your token drops by 90%, don't let the community see your patek. So I guess this is the founder, and I guess he did a video response or something like that. But yeah, maybe after the project dumps that hard, we don't flex the Patek on them. Pro tip. A lot of these projects could use some other tips on marketing, communication, and crisis management too. Yeah, that would be. And somebody else that might need some help on that would be the Tether CEO, talking about Ponzi schemes here. I just shared this. This is Scott Melker. I wanted to share this because he says the US dollar's secret weapon and why they're buying billions in Bitcoin. I haven't watched this interview, but I just wanted to comment on the fact that Tether continues to buy a large amount of Bitcoin. And to me, you got one scheme being backed by another scheme, now bringing it full circle, right? It's an interesting situation here, this relationship between Tether and Bitcoin, to put it nicely, right? It's an interesting situation. That's a nice way to put what I think is, a Ponzi scheme on a very large scale, right? With Tether, Bitcoin, and this incestuous relationship. And once again, is Tether going to make it? We'll see. But what I'm observing is that, we really have to watch this space because the biggest players on the block, right? The top RWA chain was OM. It's gone or done, right? As we know it. The top player in the stablecoin space, Tether. How much longer can this persist? When the stablecoin legislation comes into America, they've made it clear that they're not coming into compliance. And the fact that he's doubling down on them buying Bitcoin proves that he doesn't care to come into compliance in America. Because in America, you will not be backing your stablecoin by Bitcoin, and you will not be backing it by anything other than US dollars or cash equivalents. And so I'm finding it very interesting that, Tether, CEO here, Paolo, is doubling down on this move. To me, it's clear that he just doesn't care about coming into compliance in America, which I think is going to be a fatal mistake for them and just is adding more fuel to that bullish catalyst already driving ROUSD and the significant growth that already is outpacing the growth rate at which Tether grew. So ROUSD quickly catching up to Tether. And as we're about to show you here in the next clip, the top gainer was OM since President Trump was elected. That's no longer the case. Huge shout out to Dom Trader View 2 for reminding us of the facts. The facts. And I already know a lot of people are going to be mad. Oh, top gainer can't even break $3. Just save your negative comments. I mean, if you want to drop them, okay, that's fine. It helps with engagement. That's okay. But put your feelings aside. Look at the data. See, it's just like with the market cap multiplier video that I've been sharing. People have no response. They cannot refute the data. Even though I've laid out that the math isn't perfect and I've, shown what's not included, what is included, play around with my equation, however you see fit. But nobody's been able to refute the data, right? Nobody's been able to prove otherwise. And so what they do is they resort to attacking me instead of focusing in on the facts. And the fact of the matter is that since President Trump was elected, XRP is now the top gainer. XRP up over 319%, BGB 270%, HBAR, XDC, and XLM respectively, right behind it. And funny enough, we own all of those coins besides BGB. I've never heard of that token. And OM, another RWA play. And the reason why I'm highlighting this one too is I wanted to get my point across on the liquidity, market cap multiplier, and that liquidity example, but also to demonstrate that these narratives come and go just as quickly. In these projects, they float in the wind. They're a metaverse project. They're an NFT project. They're an AI project. We're an RWA chain. Don't insult my intelligence. Every single project now is an RWA chain. How much value are you getting on chain? That's what we need to know. And, seemingly the largest RWA play, OM here, 6 billion of market cap, was the top gainer since the election. Things were going just great, fine, and dandy until they weren't. And that's the staying power. That's the strength of XRP on display. While all these other projects have come and gone, floating in the wind, we focused on payments and liquidity first, which clearly, as I'm demonstrating, is the most important. And now we're adding all of this additional utility programmability, which is exploding DeFi and RWAs and NFTs and metaverse and everything else on the XRP ledger. But if you don't have that base foundation, it doesn't matter what you build. You can have the best narratives, and those narratives will lead to putting that Patek Philippe on the wrist, but it's not going to lead to a healthy ecosystem with lasting power. Big difference. Big difference. Okay? So just wanted to remind everybody this Monday morning that now the OM's out of the way, XRP is the top gainer since President Trump was elected and we entered this new reality. Remember this beauty, Barry Silbert? I thought that this was a good share reminder from Ian Binns. This is Barry Silbert. Ripple is going to eat Swift's lunch. I've already seen some feedback on my market cap multiplier and folks taking different metrics. And this is what I've been doing this for years now, and we've been saying, if we just get a portion of these liquidity flows, we move drastically in price. And sure enough, Ripple acquires Hidden Road, settling 10 billion daily, 3 trillion on a yearly basis. And what do they say? A portion of this liquidity is going to move to the XRP ledger. And that made me light up like none other when I saw David Schwartz say those exact words. Yes, he says, imagine if just a portion. And then you got folks in the comments, is that actually going to happen? I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, it's like, come on, man. If David Schwartz is saying that there's a possibility, if he's saying imagine, he wouldn't be throwing that out there if it wasn't going to happen, right? It's just like Brad Garlinghouse flirting with the idea of BlackRock being a partner and using the prime brokerage services that they're going to now provide through the Hidden Road acquisition. Brad Garlinghouse flirting with the idea of BlackRock being a partner, BlackRock maybe having an XRP ETF. He wouldn't be flirting with the idea if it wasn't going to happen. Because unlike all these other pretenders in the space that might have the shiny watch on, okay? There's a big difference between what's been taking place here, Ripple, and the XRP Ledger ecosystem building to last versus the shiny new chain and narrative and the insiders all got tokens and the insiders and the YouTubers and the shillers that told you this was here are my top 5 RWA plays for this bull run. Gone. Just like that. Meanwhile, Ripple makes one of the largest acquisitions in the history of cryptocurrency, continuing to double down on the programmability and utility being built on the XRP ledger. And now you're seeing the big institutions and the big money starting to roll in. What was once a hypothetical dream that I was called crazy for, saying that trillions were coming to the XRP ledger, is now a reality. It is now a fact, just like a fact that XRP is the top gainer since this election. And I think that it's going to be one of the best gainers for the rest of this cycle. So I don't know what these other guys are telling you, shilling you, and playing around with. But one thing's been certain. The top gainers, we hold. XRP, HBAR, XDC, XLM, and we got some other good utilities that have performed really well too. So if you appreciate what we're doing here, make sure you guys have subscribed, hit that notification bell. It's all at ZachRector.com if you appreciate what we're doing. Thanks for showing us love and sharing our content. Thank you so much, and God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.